the long term for businesses. Now, just coming to Vijay, one thing I think would be very interesting for a lot of people here would be to understand the fundraising process as you have experienced it, and you've been able to raise funds from across the board of investors. If you could share a few tips, possibly in terms of how your interactions have been with investors and what has worked for you, I think that might be really helpful for the people out there.
Yeah, so I think in the PropTech space, right, when you have to get somebody's appetite to invest on you, there are very critical metrics that I think we would like to see based on our interactions that I'm quoting here, right? And Ninad, you can pitch in the moment you feel if something is wrong, right? So what I fundamentally see is, especially in the PropTech space, right, your ability to scale or your ability to distribute your product becomes a very, very critical factor, right? While you're solving the problem, right? See, what happens with most of the entrepreneurs is they try to solve the problem end to end, right? What I say is, as an entrepreneur, you can solve only few problems. You can't solve all the problems because you're always, most of the times you're bootstrapped, right? When you're coming up with a solution, you can only solve one problem and try to solve that problem at scale and make sure that your product is distributed very fast, right? Otherwise, what will happen is, by the time, like if you see, for example, you take the COVID example, you're solving the problem end to end. One disruption like this starts, and your entire solution actually becomes, void, and entire investment and all those things that came into this till now actually goes back, right? So I feel that solve small problems and problems that can be solved at scale, and your distribution is very, very fast, and the customer is willing to pay for it, right? So what happens is, what I've seen, right, when I used to sell the product, right, to whether it is to customers like Sumit or to customers like Prithvi, right, everybody has got their own way of thinking about innovation, right? So what happens in PropTech space, like, every customer is a big customer. If I go to a Prestige or if I go to a Cognizant or if I go to any builder, every builder is a big customer for me, right? So what ends up happening when you go to these kind of big customers is you end up customizing it to them quite a lot, and you end up becoming a services company, right? So you need to draw a line where, what is the solution that you want to sell, right? And what is the solution that the customer wants, and very clearly you need to educate the customer. So there are some things which we can do, and there are some things which we cannot do, and there are some things which we get in close to reality, because Sumit is thinking about the problem at hand, and he has got some way of give a solution for it. But as an entrepreneur and being close to the innovation, what is feasible, what is not feasible, and what is going to come later on, right? So I think that education also becomes very important. And once you're able to do all these three things, that's the time you start getting money on the table. And once your growth is at par with what a VC is looking at, when all those boxes are ticked, I think people will come chasing for deals like this, right? Yeah, so that's what I would say in the fundraising this thing, and be very focused in what you're doing, right? Again, real estate is such a place, real estate or PropTech is such a space, right? You find a Bombay market different than a Hyderabad market, different than a Bangalore market, different than a Hyderabad market, right? You have to be very clear in terms of what you need to, where you need to focus. Like, say, for example, our early days, we said that we'll focus only in Bangalore, and not only, not complete Bangalore. We'll only focus in Bellandur area, right, which has got highest concentration. Get 20% of the market share there, then go to the next pin code. So you need to be very, very focused also in your, acts, right? So I think all these things play a very, very big role in, a VC determining whether I can fund in this startup or not. Ninad, if you have any points to add or anything to contradict, it will be a learning. Yeah.
I will never contradict you, Vijay. Not in public, but in private, we can have a discussion. No, but I think on a more serious note, you really summed it up well. Scale is very important. So there are, to raise money, you have various options. You have VCs, your private equity guys, your banks, finance. Let me, since you're talking specifically on VCs, you're very right. Number one, we see scale. We don't fund lifestyle businesses. The difference is lifestyle business fund your lifestyle. your family, your home, which is good. Nothing wrong in that. We want business to scale rapidly. If it's not scaling rapidly, VCs are not interested. It's not that a business is not fundable. It's not a VC fundable business. We look at what can go right, not what can go wrong. There are various parameters, and we are the thing we're investing with a 95% failure rate is money, and we're looking for exit. So these are very, very clear factors, Vijay. I'm glad you brought. But we are really looking for a lot of ideas. Capital is chasing ideas, not the reverse. If you have a smart idea, prop tech, anything connected, you will get funded. If not by 100x by someone else.
Fantastic. I think that's like the apt and perfect closure for the session. I have gotten a gentle nudge from Sapna saying that we must now move on to taking questions. But Vijay and Ninad, I think the key thing that especially who are startups who are in the audience would want to take away is that the need to stay focused, need to stay simple, solving the right problems. But also, if you are really looking at raising funds from VCs, you have to have a scalable business model, and that's where the money will follow. Obviously, there are funding is not and never restricted only to the VC ecosystem. There are multiple avenues for raising funding, and every viable business would end up raising funds. So either one way or the other. But the key to looking at building a business which is scalable, which is simple, solving a very simple problem, which Vijay was talking to, and staying really focused on what you want to solve. With that note, we can open it up to questions. Before that, Sapna, I will just want to summarize the entire discussion here for the benefit of everyone here. We start